let's grab our lacrosse ball and let's start the same way we always do. I will start on my right foot, pick a side and start with that. Could be your left, completely fine. And the first thing we'll do is take a nice deep breath in. Just let your tissue sink into the lacrosse ball. And I just want to work your toes up and down. And again, we will get onto a little bit of the hip. We're going to do a little bit of feet as well. So this is a disclaimer for you. If you're grossed out by feet, I apologize, we're going there today just a little bit to mobilize the toes because they're really important to get that lower leg, calf, tibialis anterior, the musculature that helps you have that range of motion with dorsiflexion opened up. So as you can see, I'm doing here is I'm just flexing, I'm extending my toes, and I'm just finding little spots of tissue that is kind of tacked down that feels really uncomfortable for myself. Little pressure points. We're not going too aggressive though, we're like an 8 out of 10 in terms of pressure. And that's really important because we don't want to ramp up our nervous system, so we have to fight the feeling of sensation of the tension in the foot. So nice small rolls now. Gonna go from the base of the big toe, just back just a little bit, just a tiny, tiny touch. Don't need to go too far with this one. And we're just rolling into the middle just a little bit. And if you find an area which is really, really uncomfortable, I just want you to sit on it for a second. Again, 7 or 8 out of 10 in terms of pressure this time. And I want you to just push slightly down, but then bring your toes towards you and your toes down towards the floor, okay? And the idea with this one is we're just gently teasing it out, a bit like chewing gum, we're just kind of teasing out both ends, just trying to loosen that tissue up and just kind of sliding again. So now I'm on the outside of the little toe on my right foot, and I'm just going to do the same thing. Toes come up, I try and spread my toes if I can, and I bring it back together. Really important to focus on spreading your toes because it gets so tight in a shoe every day. So if you're at work, at your desk, or you're at home in your office and you're doing this and someone's kind of looking at you a bit weird, this is normal. This is completely normal. You should be moving your feet, should be loosening up the tissue on the bottom of your foot because that's that first point of contact with the ground. So again, base of the big toe. We're going to put a little bit of pressure, 7 or 8 out of 10. Downwards into the ball. No pain though. Back it off if it's painful. And we're just going to bring our toes up and toes down. And then we're just going to bring toes up. And we're just going to move across just a little bit. Find that patch of tissue, that point of maybe tenderness. And if this isn't quite right for you, if this doesn't work and this isn't something that works in mobility because you've got great feet and you look after them anyway, then obviously you can skip over this bit, skip to the next section of the video, which will be probably another minute away. Okay, so we just bring our toes up and down, and we're just kind of seeing where we're at. So you can even work towards the back of your heel as well, you know, where a lot of people get that plantar fasciitis, where they get that tug on the tissue, and they get some pain in that heel. It's often good to just kind of help the arch as well. So again, outside the little toe, the base of the little toe I should say, we're just going to do the same thing, and this time we're just going to try and spread the toes. I'm going to do some work on that directly in a second. Just spreading those toes, and I'm just working back a little bit. Okay, cool. So let's just get rid of that lacrosse ball. That will come roll back towards me a second. There we go. And we're just going to do our check-in. Always important that when we do mobility routine, we have these feedback loops that we use just to see if what we've done has improved our range of motion. So today's one we're going to use, because we're doing calf, ankle, and feet, and then a little bit hips later on, because she's going to do a wall test with the foot. So what you want to do is, and I'm not the best example of this, but I'm going to show you how to set this up. You're just going to start your foot off by the wall, you're going to slide it back about, let's say, a third of the distance of your foot, which should probably be about 4 inches, let's say 3 to 4 inches, and we're just going to see if we can bring our knee to the wall. Now you can have your hands on the wall for support if you want, you can bring your foot back behind you, you can have it slide on if you want, but either way what we're trying to do is just get our knee to track towards the wall just to see how our range is both of our knee over our foot. And we're not looking to bring it in towards the middle, we're looking to bring it out towards the little toe on the outside. So let's just see how we do. I could probably have a little bit of potential there on my left side, so I'm just going to bring it forward a little bit and see if I can touch my knee to the wall, keep my heel on the floor. And I can, so at the moment I'm about a couple of inches let's say, generously a couple of inches away from the wall. And so I'm going to do the same thing on my other side, and my feedback loop would just be, once we've done all the mobilizations, does this range improve? So same thing again. This side I'm a little less mobile, long story, and I'm probably about an inch away from the wall. So that would be our feedback loop. So let's use that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to roll out the calf. So you're going to need your foam roller. This one can be a little bit sensitive for a lot of people, so let's just grab a foam roller. I have a trigger point foam roller. You can use a soft one, or even you could use just a solid object to use on the tissue as well. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to find a point on the foot that feels a little bit tender, let's say. It could be anywhere across the gastrosoleus. On the back side of your leg, you want to stay off the tendons, so you want to come into the musculature a little bit. So we're just gonna roll a little bit, and you want to see if it's internal or external, the area that you feel that kind of tenderness. So we're just going to start by, I'm just going to turn a little bit so you can see, bringing our toes back towards us just a little bit, backwards, just to see if we can catch that tissue. So I have a spot right there. I'm just going to turn out, just going to look at the bottom of my foot, and we're going to bring our body weight up just a little bit by pushing into the ground and bring our shoulders back to a nice stable position. And this is just going to stop us from adding too much pressure, but also controlling the amount that we want. So pushing down into the foam roller, we're going to bring our toes down, and then we're going to bring our foot all the way up towards us, and just kind of see how that feels, and just work up a little bit. I like to avoid rolling aggressively on this point, because at the end of the day, we're just trying to increase the range of motion of the ankle and increase the flexibility of the calf, mobilizing it slightly. So now let's turn our foot. So use it like a rudder, just turn it out slightly, and we're just going to bring it towards us again. And this is the bit where I really get caught up on my calf. So it's a little bit tender for me. So I'm just going to find that prime spot where I feel really, really tender. Now, we're going to pull our toe down towards the floor for a couple of seconds. So 1, 2, 3, and then we're just going to bring our toe towards us for a couple of seconds. You can do this in increasing lengths of time. Just try and take out that tension. Works really well. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to bring it down away from us again, because I'm on that spot. So if you can't quite find it, just work inwards or outwards and just find that spot that works for you. And we're going to point our toe downwards. 1, 2, 3, and we're going to bring it upwards towards us, so toes towards your nose. 1, 2, 3, and then just slight roll just to see if that has changed how your calf feels. Okay, so let's just do one more spot just to go over that one more time, because again, you can watch this on repeat, and you can repeat the same actions anywhere where you feel this in your calf, because improving that range of motion with the ankle can often depend on how your calf can slide, or the posterior musculature can slide up and down. So first thing we're going to do, this time let's do it centered. I did mine slightly biased outwards, let's do it slightly more central now. So we're going to find that spot that works for us. I'm a little bit more proximal towards the joint of the knee, so I'm going to push my weight down a little bit. So pushing my body weight into the calf. I'm going to push my toe away from me. I'm pulling my foot down towards the floor. Down, 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 down. So again, I'll show you this side so you can see. Pulling down, down, down towards the floor. Keeping my leg as straight as I can so my weight is directly into that calf musculature, that muscle belly. And then I'm pulling up towards me. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and down. A little bit more pressure if you need it. 7 or 8 out of 10, probably no more. And then we're going to bring our toe towards 1, 2, 3. Let's switch sides now. So again, if you need to do any particular spots that work better for you, it could be more central, more on the outside, so more lateral, or more medial to the inside or outside of the leg. So I'm going to start kind of around the same place that I finished on this leg, and I'll turn myself so that you can see a slightly different angle on this one. And I'm pushing, again, so it's kind of a similar spot for me, but again, if you find somewhere else, on the outside towards the top of my calf. So I'm going to turn my foot outwards slightly, use it as a rudder, and I'm going to bring my toe down towards the floor, so I'm pointing it down, and then I'm just going to add a little bit more pressure, and I'm going to hold it for 3. So 1, 2, 3, an active contraction into the floor, and then I'm pulling it more towards my nose. So 1, 2, 3, and then down, 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 down. So that's a little bit more tension I've added there. 2, 3, and then pulling it up again, more towards my nose. 1, 2, 3. Great. So just roll it off a little bit. You can even move it side to side if you find that helps the tissue to slide a little bit more, because that's ultimately what we're going for. We're just trying to get that tissue to slide over itself just a little bit more movement, just so you can free up some tissue. We're going to now focus a little bit more on another spot. So again, just do that kind of scan and see if there's somewhere else that you really, really feel it. So I don't have as much tension in that side of my calf, but I'll do another spot just to kind of demonstrate with you guys. So I'm going to do kind of more proximal towards the joint, still staying in the musculature, and just remember to stay off any tendons or near the joint as well. So going to pull my toe down towards the floor. So again, I'm more central in the musculature this time, pulling it down towards the floor. I'm then going to pull up towards my nose, and then I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to pull down, so 1, 2, 3, 4 this time, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and just give it a gentle roll, just to try and get that tissue to move a little bit more. Great. Okay, so let's just kind of check in. Worth doing a few rolls of the ankles as well, just to kind of see if that loosens up the joint itself, because you have tension that acts on both sides of the joint, just pulling it, and sometimes you get really, really compressed in the joint, so a little bit of decompression can help. A little bit of ankle rolls, if you can get them going in and out, or opposite direction as well, that's always good to do. And let's just see how that feels, and if that feels any better at all, just by bringing it up and down, just getting some blood back into the calves. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of work on increasing the local joint range of the foot. So if you're a little bit funny with feet, I would suggest that you look away. For everyone else, you're probably going to grab a seat. I would also suggest take socks on, because it's a lot easier if you do. So we're just going to do a little bit of toe mobilization. So if you can't get into this position, do your best, find somewhere suitable that's comfortable to sit. All we're going to be doing is working a little bit on mobilizing the toes themselves and stretching out the feet. It's a little bit of an extension of our rolling with a lacrosse ball, but it really helps to gain some range in the ankle mobilization. So all we're going to do is, again, this can be really painful for some people, is we're just going to interlock our fingers with our toes, and this can be really, really effective if you're doing it straight after a shower, or even if it's an excuse to moisturize. This can be really effective after you take your shoes off as well, because if you're someone who wears tight-fitting shoes, feet are the first area that get affected, and then it often affects your posterior chain, your low back, and the tightness in your shoulders and neck too. So interlocking fingers. Next thing we're going to do is we're just going to start to rotate off our toes with our hand, and the idea here is we're just getting some local traction. So we're going to lift out. So I'm going to pull my toes towards you guys, just pulling outwards slightly, and again, this is going to increase, or decrease I should say, tension in the tissue on the bottom of the foot, and this is going to take out some of that tension that sits in between the toes, increase the range. So you're going to pull a little bit towards you and rotate at the same time, just pulling it out slightly. It's not a lot of traction, it's just like a gentle kind of traction, like a massage type traction, where you're just kind of pulling gently away and around. And now what we're going to do is we're going to squeeze our fingers with our toes, which doesn't sound comfortable. It's not that comfortable, but trust me, this works really effectively. So we're going to squeeze our fingers with our toes, and then after a couple of seconds, we're going to push our toes, spread our fingers to try and widen that space in between the toes. That's really, really, really going to help you to gain some space in between those toes, grip the ground a little bit stronger, provide that excellent base for support when it comes to movement and some of the other classes that Good Life offers. So we're going to do the same thing. We do it one more time on this foot. So we're going to traction out and just do a little bit of a roll to get the ball, this foot moving a little bit. And then we're going to spread our fingers, so spread them nice and wide. and then we're going to squeeze our fingers with our toes, so now you're gripping them really tight, and then we're just going to traction towards you, and then this time we're just going to come around the corner, so we're just going to lift it up, and we're not trying to pull the toes out the socket. I know some of you are thinking, is that the purpose? It's not, it's just to gain a little bit of more range with the toes. It's often the missing link when it comes to mobility with the feet. And then you can also give it a little bit of a twist, just see how that feels, and then see if that feels any better for you, okay? So let's do the other foot now. Same thing again. If you lack the range, try and find a comfortable position. If you need to sit on the floor, if you need to raise yourself up, even the yoga brick under one side of your body can often help support you if you lack the range in the hips, which again is a missing factor in some people. So we'll get onto the hips a little bit later. I think we have enough time, so we do. So we're going to interlock the toes again. My thumb is on the outside of my big toe. The rest of my fingers are interlocked. And I don't have so much with the little toe, but I can if I need to. But again, we're just focused on the toes in the middle and the big toe as well. So now, first thing we're going to do is we're going to start to rotate toes a little bit. And if you get any snaps and cracks like I do, then that's okay, as long as you're not breaking any toes. And we're just going to rotate slightly up and around. A little bit of traction, just gentle, not too much. We're not trying to dislocate any bones here. I'm just trying to traction gently. So nice circle movements. We're now going to traction up, and let's spread our toes a little bit with our fingers. So we're just looking to get them nice and wide. And again, 7 or 8 this time in terms of pressure, not too much. And let's just squeeze the fingers, and let's spread the toes, and squeeze, and spread. And let's do a little bit more of a circle. A little bit more of a circle there. A couple of cracks and pops I have. And then we're gonna spread again, and we're going to squeeze, 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 squeeze. So again, this can be really uncomfortable, but this is normally because people don't really have the strength in that area of their body because they're not used to gripping things. Shoes often deaden that kind of experience, that kind of feeling in the feet. So we want to squeeze as hard as we can, and we're going to spread a little bit. So last roll, and then we're going to traction up. So I'm pulling a little bit towards you, and imagine that I'm coming around the corner. So I'm just getting a little bit more mobility on those toes. And if you want to do the same thing with the little toe, you can, but we're just going to leave that for now. So let's just see how we feel, see if there's any increase in range, and we're going to do a quick check-in with the wall like we just did, just to see if those really, really simple things have helped us at all in terms of increasing the range. So I would say I've gained, I haven't gained too much from that one, but my feet definitely feel amazing afterwards. So that was my left ankle that already had fairly good range. And that's my right ankle. I'm probably about the same on that side too. So we know that for myself, working the toes will not improve my calf range that much, or my ankle range, but definitely feels amazing. But for some of you, it might make all the difference. So I would say if it works for you, great. If it doesn't, no problem. So next thing we're going to do, a little bit of a calf stretch with the band. So you can grab a towel, you can grab a band. I have a TRX strap. You can also use a towel or a band. You can even do this standing if you want. This works really well. And all we're going to do is some active PNF, or it's a longer word, proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. Say that fast 3 times. We're going to put this band underneath our foot, just below the toes, and we're just going to pull back slightly. It's a bit of a combination stretch with the calf as well. But what we're trying to do is just get our foot to pull back towards us, and at the same time we're working the posterior chain too. So you can even come into a semi-straddle position for this as well. If you're someone who has really good flexibility, you can even do this just with a reach, so you can just reach towards the toes. But for now, for those that don't have the range, an assistance tool like a band or a towel works fantastically well. We're just looking to get a little bit of assistance in the range on this side. And again, main focus for this one is that we're stretching the calf. So with that being said, what we can do is we can pull our toes back towards us a little bit, and it's a little bit of an assistance to pull the top of the foot, because that's our pivot point in this movement, to get our calf to stretch. Again, towels, bands, whatever works for you is great. and we're just pulling back towards us. Now, in this end range, what I really want you to do is concentrate on getting the muscle that sits on this side of the ankle, the anterior tibialis, which is a muscle that a lot of people don't work very often, to activate, and we're to actively pull your toes towards you without you pulling on that band. So we're going to do that for 5 seconds, okay? It's really going to cramp up. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we're just going to push away slightly. So we're plantar flexing our foot, and then we're pulling towards us. Now we're in dorsiflexion again, pulling towards us, and now we're going to pull towards 5 seconds. So pull, 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 toes to nose. We're going to pull our foot towards us actively without pulling on the rope band or towel. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Oh. And I really felt that kind of cramp up a little bit there. And this is just the first of 2 exercises we're doing, just to kind of get that anterior tibialis, which is the musculature on the front, that again is underdeveloped in some people, to kind of wake up a little bit. And beyond shouting at it, we're just going to pull our foot towards us just a little bit of a calf stretch, a little bit of a hamstring stretch as well, and a little bit of mobilization in the ankles. So again, we will come to hips and quads in a bit, so no worries. The reward will pay off at the end. We'll spend probably less time on it, but we'll do a little bit, okay? So pulling the toes towards us, just a little bit of traction, nice deep breaths in, about 7 or 8 out of 10. Come into a semi-straddle position if you want, come into a full kind of straddle position if you need to, but all we're doing is just pulling the toes towards us, and now we're actively going to stretch it. So 5 seconds, we're going to pull towards us, but using the anterior tibialis on the outside of our foot. So pull, 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 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we're just going to plantar flex our foot, and now we're bringing toe towards us again, actively pulling. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Let's remove that, and let's roll our feet out again. We're trying to get these muscles on the front here to just wake up a little bit. Just rolling our feet. Perfect. Second thing we're going to do, we're going to come into a position where we can just bring our knee forward, and we're just going to add some glide into that joint. And what we're trying to do is trying to shift the ankle bones to the outside of our little toe, rather than coming over our big toe, because that would mean that our knee would be in a compromised position. We want to get our knee outwards, so you can even just rotate the lower leg bones just to assist you slightly, is what I like to do. And we're just trying to get this glide back in the toes. And once you find that you're in a more comfortable position, this ankle's locking up a little bit less, let's see if we can get that anterior tibialis to kind of wake up a little bit. And let's pull our toes towards you at the bottom there. Pull, 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 pull. And let's bring toes down, and let's just glide a couple more times, just putting our body weight across the top. And we're going to lift up our toes again. So pull those toes towards your nose, and let's get that anterior tibialis, this musculature on the side here, this one right here. So yeah, change angle so you can see. Just rocking backwards and forwards. And now we're lifting our toes, and we're getting this muscle to open up just a little bit. So really weak in some people, it's really uncomfortable to work it. And let's see what we can do on the other side. So again, I'll face you so you can see me. We're trying to get our knee to come out slightly, about 22.5 degrees if you want the technical exact angle you want to be, and you want to guide it towards that little toe, and we want to have a little bit of a rotation of the lower leg bone, so you can even guide it a little bit as you rock backwards and forwards. And now I want you to bring your toes to your nose, so we're over the top, weight shifted, and we're pulling our toes, our little toes, our big toe, up towards our nose, and we're really focused on getting this muscle to work. Stabilize there, and then let's just rock. Awesome. Let's pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up. Excellent. And let's just rock again. And we're really getting that muscle to work, because it doesn't like to do its job in stabilizing the ankle and the lower leg. So a calf often will overwork, and that can be really uncomfortable. So just pulling up, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Let's just come up to our feet. Last thing we want to do, now that we've kind of worked our calf out a little bit, is to get the musculature to work in its proper range. So I like to do this with a little bit of active work. So we're going to find a wall, hopefully I'm still in shot, and we're going to do some eccentric work with the calf, okay? So first thing we're gonna do is set ourselves up on a wall. I'm gonna start with my left leg, or sorry, my right leg, so you can see it. And we're gonna start at the top of the movement. So a lot of people, when they do a calf raise, will start from the bottom, but when we're building this range of motion for the ankle, we actually want to start from the top and work downwards. So we're just gonna start from the very, very top. This foot can support if you need to, but you wanna get it straight. And we're just pushing up, keeping this whole leg straight, and we're just gonna slowly, eccentrically load the ankle, lowering it down really, really slowly. And at the bottom, what I want you to do is try and pull your toes up towards you. So pulling those toes up towards you, trying to get that ankle range improved. We can just come backwards and forwards a little bit, and then we're just gonna come up again. We're just gonna do 3 in each leg. For now, just sets of 3 are important. You can do 3 or 4 sets, which are the number of rounds that you do the exercise. We're slowly coming down as we get to the bottom, which is lifting our toes up, really driving that heel into the ground as we try and get those toes to lift, using that anterior tibialis, that muscle on the outside that doesn't like to do work. And we can start from top again. So this is rep number 3 on our right leg. We're keeping that leg straight. We're slowly lowering it down. Slowly, 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 slowly. My right leg is working, and I'm lifting my toes up. And that's just rebuilding that range of motion within the ankle. We want to see a little bit of a change in. So now I'm going to do my left leg. Same thing. Start from the top. Let's work down together. So find a wall, stabilize yourself. Let's start about shoulder width apart this time. And we're just going to lift that leg up to full extension. I'm using my right foot just to stabilize the movement. And I'm slowly, eccentrically, go a little bit slower this time. Slowly, eccentrically loading that ankle. My right foot's here for support. Squeezing my butt too. Slowly, slowly, slowly coming down. And when I get to the bottom, I'm just gonna try and pull those toes towards my nose. And I'm trying to get that anterior tibialis, that muscle on the outside of my shin, to really do some work, just pulling those toes towards me. And then I'm just going to lean forward slightly, just to see if I can get a slight stretch on my calf as well. Let's just do 1 more rep, because the first ones weren't that great on this leg. And we're just gonna make sure that we're contracting our glutes, we're keeping our legs straight as we can, we're slowly, slowly coming down. So we're eccentrically loading it. That's another really important part of this movement, is to make sure that you are loading the movement after you stretch and mobilize, just so you get some proprioception back in the joint, just to re-educate that movement. And now let's see how our ankles feel. We'll do a little bit of a check-in, see if that has improved any of your range of motion, which hopefully it has. I'm just going to do a few rotations there. So let's see. So I start with my left leg. Start with whichever leg worked for you. Always important to get that feedback loop, because that's what's really going to help us understand if there's been a noticeable change in the range of motion, or whether it's even worth adding these things to your mobility routine. So yeah, it feels a lot better. It's gliding really, really well now. Really, really well. So you can touch the wall slightly. That's really good. A little bit better. I'd say a slight improvement on that side, and it definitely feels a lot better. It feels more comfortable to do that movement. I'd say on this side, probably about the same. Probably about the same. Comfort level's a little bit better, which is obviously really important if you're doing a lot of standing as well. So finish off with a little bit of hip work. We have a few minutes left, so I'm gonna make sure I fulfill my promise. I'm going to do a little bit of hip work. I've chosen one that's kind of a catch rule today, because I knew it was going to be the last stretch we did. So we can do a little bit of what's referred to as a couch stretch. So I've got a bench. You can use a chair or your couch, which is why it's called a couch stretch. And you can even use a little bit of padding just under your knee. This can be a little bit advanced for some. So if this one feels really, really intense for you, I would suggest just grabbing a yoga block and just putting that under your knee instead. So all we're going to do is we're going to lower ourselves down. You can probably see from the side, I've put my foot on the bench, and I'm probably about a foot away, but you can obviously be further if you need to be with those yoga blocks. Making sure this knee is really comfortable. Again, if you have any contraindications of anything you shouldn't be doing with your knees, this may be one to skip, but this is one I've chosen to do today because this is kind of a capture rule, works really well just to get you kind of hip, quad, and any musculature around, let's say the adductors as well, to kind of open up. So first thing you want to do is bring your hips forward slightly. We're just going to rock a little bit. because we're just adding tension into this quad and the musculature around the hip. And then if you want to add a little bit more dynamic, you can even bring your arm back at the same time, because now we're coming a little bit more into extension of the spine. As we bring it back, we're going to add some rotation. And what you might find is as you add rotation, the stretch will move all the way through the hip into the quad. It'll also help to kind of open up the hips as well. So let's change over. Again, if it gets too intense on the knees, because I'm on a hard rubber floor and I've got a little bit of padding with the yoga mat, this can often work with a little yoga block or some cushioning. Okay, so we're just going to rock just a little bit. So just find your optimal position. You're going to rock back and forward just to add a little bit of a stretch. And what I want to imagine is just trying to shift the hips just a little bit so that you're getting a stretch on that quad as you bring your hips forward. So your chest wants to be nice and proud. You want to stretch up to the ceiling. And we're just going to, as we rock forward and bring our hips forward, we're just bringing that arm up and over to intensify the stretch and stretch all the way through the front of our body. I'm going to rotate just a couple of times through each side as I stretch up, getting a nice deep stretch from my quads and through my side. And this time we're just going to rotate out fully, and what you'll find is that we'll move a little bit more laterally down the side. So let's just change sides. Again, we do once more on each side. Chest nice and proud, nice deep breath in. We're just going to turn a little bit this time on this side. Stretch open up. And this time we're going to tip our hip as we lean back and turn. It's going to tip. So now we're trying to shift our hip diagonally across the room. Shifting, shifting, and shifting. Excellent. Let's just change one more time. This will obviously, I'll do that side, so I'm going to do this side. This will obviously be really effective if you do this on the regular. And it's called a couch stretch because, again, the angle that we're at could be really suitable for you to do on a couch. Obviously don't wear shoes, you'll make your mum upset. So just be aware. We're just leaning, pushing our hip diagonally as we reach up to the ceiling. We're just pushing our hip outwards. Now you can also add a little bit of stability. I put my arm on my leg just to add some stability for when I lean back. But you can also put it on your side as well, just to help guide that stretch. Excellent. So that's just our quick hip today, quad stretch at the end. I promise I will do more next week, but because we covered so much content on hips in the last few months, I want to make sure that we covered just a little bit because we had a few requests. So again, if you have any requests for the next few sessions, feel free to write them in the comments of the video that we post afterwards, because the comments that get posted now tend to get lost because we don't see them after we finish the session. And otherwise, always look forward to any feedback that you have, any comments you have, and interacting with all the members that like to enjoy doing this class with me. Next week, 11:30 again, another session this afternoon from the rest of the team. And anything that you would like us to cover, let us know. We'll obviously love to interact with you and to get the content covered for you. So otherwise, have a great week. I will see you next Monday at the same time, and see you soon. Thanks guys. Tune in next week.